Under the alien sun, we built a home of lies. The alien sun rose without warning. It never crept up slowly, like Earth's gentle dawn. It simply appeared, a burning white disk that washed the sky in a color that had no name. Some said it was silver. Others said it was blue. But to those who had lived on Earth, it felt like a reminder that this place, this world, was never meant for humans. Yet we lived here. We built cities here. We built promises here. And beneath this alien sun, we built something else too, something we never spoke of, something that held our new world together like invisible glue. We built a home of lies. When our colony ship first landed on Solara 4, we were too desperate to care about the truth. Earth was dying. The oceans were acid. The sky burned with storms. Humanity boarded the Exodus fleet not out of hope, but fear. Any world that could keep us alive was a blessing. Even this one, Solara 4, was beautiful from orbit, a green crescent wrapped in thick blue clouds. But beauty can hide danger, and we did not know what dangers waited below. Our scanners said the air was breathable, the water pure, the soil rich. But they also said something else, something the leaders erased before anyone saw it. Something lived here before us. But that first morning, when the doors of the colony ship opened and warm alien air rushed inside, no one asked questions. Children ran out first, laughing. Elders followed, crying at the sight of endless forests. We stepped onto soft soil and felt sunlight that tingled strangely on our skin. And for the first time in many years, people believed in a future. That was when the council made their first lie. They told us the planet was empty. No ruins. No history. No other beings. Just us. We believed them, and in believing, we sealed our fate. Our first settlement was a rough circle of metal pods connected by cables. The engineers named it First Haven, though many joked it felt nothing like a haven. Nights were cold. The air hummed with strange insects. The trees in the forest swayed even when there was no wind. But the council told us everything was normal. Adaptation takes time, the counselor of environment said during the first month. You will grow used to the sounds. Maybe we did. Maybe we didn't. But after a while, the creaking forests and trembling ground became part of life. I was 16 then. Old enough to understand fear, but young enough to believe the adults. My name is Marilyle. I was born on the Exodus fleet, raised in metal hallways and artificial sunlight. When we landed on Solara 4, I touched real soil for the first time. That moment should have been beautiful, but it wasn't. The moment I placed my hand on the ground, something pulsed beneath my fingers, like a heartbeat. I told my mother. She smiled gently and said, "It's just nerves, Mara. The planet is new to you." But even at 16, I knew the difference between nerves and a heartbeat. The first real problem came with the crops. Within weeks, our seeds grew too fast. Tomatoes were the size of melons. Wheat stalks rose taller than houses. At first, people celebrated. Food was plenty. No more rationing. No more hunger. But the scientists whispered in fear. The soil is too alive, one biologist said before he disappeared. Something is feeding the plants, something ancient. The council replaced him with another scientist, who told us everything was safe. Another lie added to the foundation of our new world. And then the nights changed. At first, it was just lights in the distance. Blue lights drifting between trees like fireflies. People said they were gas pockets glowing under pressure. Another lie. Because sometimes the lights moved in patterns, straight lines, circles, spirals. Sometimes they flickered in response to human voices. And sometimes they gathered outside the settlement at night, pulsing softly, as if watching us. That was when the council built the wall. They said it was protection against wildlife. But deep down, everyone knew the truth they refused to speak aloud. Something out there wanted to see us. And we were afraid to look back. Life continued. It had to. We had crossed the galaxy for survival, and we were determined to survive. But the more we built, the more the planet responded. Our metal towers hummed at night, vibrating as if the ground wanted to shake them apart. Our vehicles stalled near certain trees. Our drones vanished when sent too far into the forest. And every dawn, we found new markings on the soil, circles, spirals, patterns too perfect to be natural. Still, the council insisted. There is nothing out there. You are imagining things. Lie after lie. Brick after brick. Our home took shape. But the truth waited beneath the surface like a sleeping beast. I was 19 the first time I heard the voice. It was early morning. I left First Haven to map the nearby valley for the exploration corps. The sky was dim, the strange twin moons still hanging above the mountains. My breath made small clouds in the cool air. And then the voice echoed inside my head. Child of metal, why do you walk upon our skin? I froze. The wind didn't move. The forest didn't sway. Not even the insects hummed. It was as if the whole planet held its breath. The voice came again, softer this time. You do not belong here. My legs trembled. I stepped back slowly, eyes scanning the trees, but I saw nothing. No lights, no shadows, no shapes. Just the forest staring at me. I ran back to the settlement as fast as I could. My lungs burned. My heart pounded. When I told the council, they exchanged quick looks before smiling calmly. You were tired, they said. These hallucinations are normal in a new environment. But I wasn't the only one. One by one, others came forward with similar stories, whispers in the mind, shapes in the trees, glowing eyes in the sky. But each person was silenced, reassigned, or quietly removed from the settlement. The council didn't want the truth. They wanted control. They wanted the lie. The turning point came in our third year. By then, our city had expanded. First Haven was no longer a circle of metal pods. It was a thriving colony with farms, solar towers, schools, markets. Under the alien sun, we built a new life. Under the alien sun, we told ourselves we were safe. Under the alien sun, we ignored the impossible things happening around us. Until the ground opened beneath Sector 7. A deep crack tore through the farms, swallowing machines and workers. A strange white light glowed from beneath the soil, and people swore they heard voices rising from the chasm. Voices that sounded old. Voices that sounded alive. The council closed Sector 7, sealed all reports, and declared it a natural fault line. But I saw what they tried to hide. I saw the recordings before they deleted them. The ground wasn't empty. Beneath the soil were structures, massive, luminous, pulsing like organs. Not caves. Not minerals. Living structures. The planet itself was alive. Not metaphorically. Not figuratively. Literally alive. And we were living on its skin. That was the moment I understood the biggest lie of all. The council always knew. They knew before we landed. They knew after we built the city. And they knew every time someone heard a whisper or saw the lights. So Lara wasn't empty. It wasn't waiting for us. It wasn't ours. It belonged to something else. Something ancient. Something still here. And we were trespassers. We were intruders. We were the invaders. The day after the Sector 7 collapse, First Haven felt different. People walked faster. Doors closed more quietly. Conversations dropped into silence whenever council patrols passed by. It felt like the entire settlement was holding its breath. No official announcement was made, but everyone knew something was wrong. My friend Jalen worked in the geological division. He had seen the underground scans too. That evening, he came to my pod, breathless and shaking. They deleted everything, he whispered as soon as the door closed. All the files. All the backups. Even the off-grid logs. Everything. I asked. He nodded. They erased the truth, Mara. Completely. What did you see before they wiped it? Jalen swallowed hard, his eyes dark with fear. Not caves. Not tunnels. Something else. Something built. Built by what? He looked at me as if the answer was too large for words. The planet, he whispered. The planet built it. I didn't understand at first. But he explained. We thought the soil was overreactive because of microbes. But it's not microbes. It's the planet. It grows structures. It shapes itself. Like regeneration. like living tissue. A chill raced through me. And the council knew? I asked. They knew before we landed, Jalen said bitterly. They hid the true scans so the colonists wouldn't panic. I wasn't surprised. Not anymore. But then he added something worse. Mara, the structures aren't empty. They respond to movement. They pulse when something approaches. And some of them whisper. My blood froze. Whisper. I heard them, he said. Not with my ears. In my mind. The same way I had heard that voice in the forest. My knees weakened. My breath caught. The pieces of the puzzle were finally fitting together, and the picture they formed was terrifying. The glowing lights in the trees. The patterns in the soil. The heartbeat under the ground. The voice that called me child of metal. We're not alone, I whispered. Jalen looked at me with hollow eyes. No. Not alone. Never alone. 2 days later, the council announced a colony-wide curfew for safety reasons. No one was allowed near the forests after dark. No one was allowed near Sector 7 at all. But the restrictions came too late. That night, the lights returned. I saw them from my window, blue spheres drifting above the treetops. They moved slowly, almost gently, like they were searching. One hovered near the wall of First Haven. It pulsed softly, rhythmically. Then it spoke. Not in words, not out loud, but as a sensation and emotion sent straight into my mind. Why do you cut us? Why do you wound our skin? My breath hitched. I stumbled back from the window. Us. Not me. Not I. Us. The planet wasn't one being. It was many. A whole world of connected consciousness. A living network that stretched beneath every tree, every valley, every mountain. And we had been carving into it like careless intruders. The blue light pulsed again. Stop. Stop before we bleed. I didn't understand the meaning then. I would later, when it was far too late. The lights vanished as abruptly as they came, sinking back into the forest like sparks falling into dark water. The sky became empty again. But my mind wasn't. The voice echoed through my thoughts long after the lights were gone. The next morning, the council deployed armed patrols around the perimeter. They claimed it was routine. No one believed them. Whispers spread through the colony, rumors about the lights, the voices, the cracks in the ground. Some people wanted to evacuate the planet entirely. Others wanted to strengthen the settlement and fight whatever lived in the forests. But the council insisted everything was under control. Which meant, of course, that nothing was under control. That afternoon, I visited the archives, one of the few buildings still without surveillance in every corner. Not officially, anyway. I accessed restricted logs using the code Jalen slipped to me. I wasn't ready for what I found. The first ship that surveyed Solara 4, the Horizon Scout, had sent back detailed reports. Their scans had detected biosignatures not found anywhere else in the galaxy. The soil, the trees, even the mountains carried the same energy signature. The entire planet was a single living superorganism, a thinking planet. A conscious planet. The Horizon Scout recommended Solara for be quarantined. Declared sacred. Left untouched. But the message never reached Earth. The Council intercepted it. Because a dying humanity needed a new world, and Solara 4 was the only planet close enough, breathable enough, and stable enough. So they made a choice. We will settle the new world regardless of its native life, one of the secret files said. A necessary decision. Another file added. The colonists must never know. They must believe the planet is empty. Otherwise, fear will destroy the mission. And so the lie began. A lie so big it became the foundation of our survival. A lie so deep that the truth could never surface without breaking everything built upon it. Under the alien sun, we built a home made from metal and hope. A home held together by stolen soil and stolen air. And beneath it all, we built a home of lies. That night, everything changed again. A quake shook First Haven, stronger than any before. Towers rattled. Floors shuddered. Alarms blared. People ran into the streets, terrified. But the quake wasn't the worst part. As the ground split open near the manufacturing district, a new glow rose from below, brighter than before, almost blinding. And this time, shapes moved within the light. Not human shapes. Tall, shifting silhouettes made of luminous threads. Their forms flickered like light passing through water. They had no faces, no limbs, no eyes. Yet they turned toward us. They looked at us. Or into us. Children screamed. Adults froze in fear. Soldiers raised their weapons, hands trembling. Then a voice, not one, but many, echoed inside our minds. Why do you hurt us? The soldiers fired. The glowing beings dissolved like mist. The ground roared in pain. Pain that rolled across the settlement like thunder. Jalen found me in the chaos. His face was white. His voice cracked. They're not attackers, he said. They're parts of the planet. Extensions. Cells. Like nerves. They looked alive, I whispered. They are alive. The quake intensified. Buildings toppled. Cracks spidered across the streets. We have to leave, Jalen said, grabbing my arm. Before the planet decides to remove us. I wanted to run. I wanted to survive. But something inside me whispered the same warning as the lights. We do not belong here. And the planet was waking up to that fact. The night of the quake, First Haven changed from a settlement into a battlefield, not against an enemy we could see, but against the ground itself. The soil rose and fell like waves. Light seeped from the cracks, pulsing with rhythm, as if the planet were breathing hard under strain. People ran in every direction, children crying, parents shouting, alarms echoing across the city. But in the middle of all the chaos, the council did something none of us expected. They ordered silence. Every speaker on every tower blared the same command. Do not engage. Do not approach the light. Return to your homes immediately. The situation is contained. Contained? The ground was literally glowing beneath our feet. Jalen grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the outer edge of First Haven. We need to leave before the council traps us inside. Leave? Where? There's nowhere to go. He pointed to the distant forest. Under the pale alien sun, which had risen too fast again, the trees shimmered like they were coated in silver dust. There, he said. Into the forest. I hesitated. Fear closed around my lungs. The voices came from the forest, I whispered. The lights watched us from the forest. He didn't slow down. And the council lied about the forest for 3 years. If there's any truth left on this planet, that's where we'll find it. I wanted to tell him he was wrong. I wanted to drag him back to my pod and hide. But I had felt the voice inside my mind too. And the truth was calling. We didn't get far before soldiers blocked our path. Their armor glowed with the council insignia, their visors reflecting the trembling light from the cracked ground. Return to your quarters, one barked. This area is restricted. Jalen stepped forward. We know what's happening. The planet is alive. Silence. The soldier snapped. You are spreading prohibited misinformation. I felt anger spark inside me. It's not misinformation. You saw what rose from the ground. The soldier's grip tightened on her weapon. We saw nothing that threatens a colony. A lie. Her hands were shaking. Jalen leaned closer to me. They're terrified. They just can't say it. Before the soldier could stop us, the ground beneath her vibrated sharply. A crack twisted across the soil, glowing bright white. She stumbled back, eyes wide. Then the voice came again. Why do you hurt us? Every soldier froze. Some dropped their weapons. One began to cry. The voice filled all of us, like a wind blowing through the inside of our skulls. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was wounded, and that made it worse. While the soldiers were stunned, Jalen pulled me into a narrow maintenance passage running beneath the solar arrays. We slipped inside and shut the panel behind us. The tremors became a dull thrum under the metal flooring. The passage was dark except for emergency lights glowing red. Jalen leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Okay, we made it past the first checkpoint. First, I echoed, horrified. He forced a shaky smile. You didn't think this would be easy, right? I didn't answer. My mind was racing too fast. The planet was speaking. The colony was collapsing. And the council was trying to keep a dying lie alive. Do you know where you're going? I finally asked as we crawled through the tight passage.
Yes.
To the old transport tunnels. They run under the eastern wall. If we reach them before they're sealed, we can get out. I swallowed hard. And then, what do we do once we leave?
He stopped.
The dim red light revealed fear in his eyes. We find the truth, Mara, he said softly. We find whatever lives here.
We talk to it.
Because if we don't, the council will let this entire colony tear itself apart. His voice shook, but not from fear. From determination. These beings try to talk to us, he continued. They tried to warn us. They tried to protect their world. If we're going to survive, we have to talk back. I didn't know if he was right, but I knew he wasn't wrong. We reached the old tunnels just as the council announced a force lockdown. Thick metal gates began sliding into place across every major passage in First Haven. Jalen and I sprinted down the dark concrete corridor, our footsteps echoing. The gate at the end was halfway down. Hurry, I yelled. He dove beneath it first. I followed, the metal scraping the back of my jacket as it slammed shut behind me. We were officially outside the council's control, but not safe. The forest was still ahead. As soon as we stepped outside the colony wall, the world felt different. The air was thicker, warmer. The ground hummed faintly, not violently like during the quake, but steadily, like a heartbeat. The trees swayed without wind again, whispering softly in overlapping tones. They were beautiful. They were terrifying. They're alive, Jalen whispered. I shook my head slowly. More than alive. The trees glowed faintly along their trunks, like veins carrying light instead of blood. The leaves shimmered with iridescent colors, shifting every time they caught the strange sunlight. I took a cautious step forward. The forest responded. The ground brightened around my foot. A soft pulse rippled outward. The trees leaned slightly toward me.
Like they recognized me.
Like they were watching me. Do you feel that? I whispered. Yes. Jalen swallowed. It's like it's letting us in. We walked deeper. Bird-like creatures fluttered above us, except they weren't birds. They had wings made of translucent membrane, glowing faint blue. Their bodies rippled like liquid metal. And they didn't make any sound. Not even when they flapped their wings. Everything in the forest felt connected, moving with the same rhythm. This is a neural network, Jalen murmured. An enormous one. Everything is part of the same system. The planet's mind? He nodded. As we followed a narrow path lit by soft luminescent moss, I felt the first whisper brush against my thoughts. Not a voice this time. A feeling. Recognition. You have returned. I stopped walking. Jalen, I whispered. Something just. Before I could finish, the ground ahead of us opened slowly, not violently like before, but gently, like a flower unfurling. Light spilled out.
Warm. White. Alive.
And from within the opening, shapes rose again. Tall, flickering forms of luminous threads. But these did not look afraid. Or wounded. They looked curious. One glided toward me, its form shifting like woven strands of light. When it stopped just inches away, it lowered itself like a bow. Then the voice filled my mind again, clearer than ever. Child of metal, why do you return? I took a shaky breath. I want to understand. The being pulsed softly. Then come. Come and learn what your leaders hid. Come learn the truth of the world you cut open. Jalen grabbed my arm. Mara, don't get too close. But it was already too late. The light being extended a tendril of shimmering energy toward me. Not dangerous. Not threatening. Inviting. And although fear twisted inside me, so did curiosity. So did destiny. I stepped forward and touched the light. The world exploded. The moment I touched the being of light, my vision shattered. Not into darkness, but into memories. Memories that were not mine. Images burst across my sight like fragments of 1,000 dreams colliding at once. It was overwhelming, beautiful,
Terrifying.
I saw oceans glowing from beneath, like living lanterns drifting in the deep. I saw forests rising and folding, rearranging themselves in slow breathing motions. I saw mountains forming not by erosion, but by intention, growing like bones. Then I saw the planet's surface from above. A web of luminous lines stretched across continents, pulsing like veins. Rivers of light, fields of light, cities of light, if you could call them that, shaped from shifting forms that looked half solid, half fluid. All connected, all alive. A single consciousness spread across every ecosystem, every organism, every structure. A world that was one being, yet many. A planet that dreamed. A planet that remembered. And then I heard it. A voice older than humanity, echoing through the vision. We were whole until they came. The scene shifted violently. I saw ships descending, sleek, metallic, blazing like stars falling from the sky. But they were not human ships. They were older, stranger,
Silent.
They cracked the soil with their landings. They drilled into the ground. They extracted glowing cores, pieces of the planet's living body. The world trembled, not as an earthquake, but as a scream. I felt that scream vibrate inside my bones. They hurt us. They left us scarred. Jalen's voice echoed faintly from far away. Mara, let go. But I couldn't. The vision held me, pulling me deeper. I saw the ancient invaders harvesting the planet's light, its life, feeding it into dark machines. The ground dimmed. The forests shriveled. The oceans turned black in places. And then the invaders vanished. Their ships lifted into the sky and disappeared between the stars, leaving behind wounds that still glowed beneath the soil, leaving behind a world that could never forget. The light being's voice returned, softer now. When your kind arrived, we watched. We waited. We remembered the hurt of the others. I saw our colony ships break through the atmosphere, flames licking their metal hulls. I saw the planet flinch, literally flinch, like a living creature bracing for pain. But you did not take our light. Images showed us digging into the soil, building towers, growing crops, cutting wounds, but not deep ones. Not like the others. Still, you harmed us. Not by intention, but by ignorance. The vision dissolved, and I felt the world's sadness wash over me like cold rain. We tried to speak, but your leaders silenced our voice. And then, a final image. The council, standing before the first glowing fissure. The planet begging, wordlessly, for them to stop. The council sealing off the area, declaring the truth forbidden. Not to protect us, but to maintain control. The lie had begun long before we ever set foot on this world. A lie built on the council's fear of losing order. A lie that became the foundation of everything. The vision snapped away, and I collapsed onto the forest floor. My breath came in sharp, ragged gasps. Jalen knelt beside me, shaking my shoulders. Mara, hey, look at me. Look at me. I blinked hard as the world came back into focus. The trees, the glowing moss, the soft hum beneath the soil, the light being hovered where it had been, pulsing slowly, watching with patient curiosity. Jalen's eyes widened. What did you see? I struggled to find words. My voice came out weak and trembling. Not aliens, I whispered. Not in the way we thought. He frowned. Then what are they? I looked up slowly at the shimmering form. They are the planet. The being pulsed gently, agreement. This entire world, the forests, the mountains, the oceans, it's all one living system. They're parts of it, like cells in a body. Jalen stared at me in awe and horror. Then, when we dig, we're cutting into their body. My throat tightened. Into their flesh. He swallowed hard. What about the glowing structures underground? Organs, I whispered. Or something like them. The realization hit him like a physical blow. God. But the truth wasn't finished revealing itself. In the past, I continued, my voice shaking. Another species came. They harvested pieces of the planet,
Hurt it deeply.
left long scars. And now it thinks we're like them, Jalen said quietly. I nodded. It doesn't want to kill us. It's trying to warn us. The light being pulsed brighter. We sought harmony.
We sought peace.
But your leaders chose silence. Jalen clenched his fists. The council knew the truth, and they hid it. They were afraid, I said softly. Afraid that if we knew, we'd panic. Or refuse to settle here. Or revolt. He shook his head slowly. Instead, they created the very thing they feared. The light being's voice echoed again inside my mind. Gentle, patient, ancient. Children of metal, you must choose. Continue the lie, and we will defend ourselves. Speak the truth, and we may heal together. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't a warning. It was an ultimatum. Before I could respond, a distant rumble echoed through the forest. Not natural. Not alive. Metal. Engines. Jalen's eyes widened. Council patrols. They're coming after us. I could already hear the amplified voices calling our names. Marlisle. Jalen Voss. You are ordered to return to First Haven immediately. The light being dimmed, retreating slightly. Jalen grabbed my hand. We have to run. But I didn't move. Jalen, we can't run forever. The council won't stop. And the planet won't stop either.
He stared at me.
What are you saying? I'm saying the truth has to come out. He shook his head fiercely. They'll arrest us. Or worse. Maybe, I whispered. But if we don't tell the colony what this planet really is, First Haven won't survive. None of us will. The ground trembled softly beneath our feet, not in anger, but in agreement. The forest whispered, the light being pulsed brighter. The council's shouts grew louder, and I realized the choice was already made. I turned toward the voices and stepped out of the glowing clearing. Mara, Jalen whispered, reaching for me. I squeezed his hand. Trust me. The light being whispered one last message in my mind. Speak, and we will listen. I stepped into the open just as a squad of armored soldiers burst from the trees. Weapons raised. Helmets glinting. Eyes filled with fear. Marlisle, the captain barked. You are under. I raised my voice, louder than I had ever spoken in my life. The planet is alive. Silence fell. Even the forest stopped moving. Even the air seemed to freeze. The soldiers stared at me in horror. The lie had finally cracked. And the truth, like the light beneath the soil, was ready to rise. The next morning rose strangely quiet again, as if the planet was holding its breath. The red sun hung low and dim, leaving long shadows that stretched across the settlement. The wind felt heavy. The air felt thick. And the lie that had held everything together for so many years now felt like a thin piece of glass ready to shatter. Lyra walked ahead of us, silent but steady. We followed her toward the observation dome, where she said the truth would soon become impossible to ignore. The closer we got, the more my fear grew. I had seen the cracks. I had heard the whispers in the night. But this time, something felt different. Bigger, louder, unavoidable. We entered the dome, and Lyra turned on the external sensors. The screens flickered, then brightened, showing the outside in real time. What we saw made all of us freeze. The sky was breaking. At first it looked like everything was shaking, clouds bending in strange ways, light bending around invisible curves. Then I realized it wasn't the sky that was breaking. It was the world. Lyra zoomed in, and the truth finally stepped into the light. Large sections of the horizon were shimmering like heat waves. Mountains distorted and flickered like mirages. The river changed direction for a second, flowing upward before snapping back into place. Nothing was solid. Nothing was real. Pieces of the planet's landscape were collapsing into static before reforming again. Alan stared in disbelief. What is happening to our home? Lyra spoke softly, almost like she was afraid to disturb the air. The projection field is failing. The lie we built our home on is fading. I felt a cold weight sink into my chest. So everything we saw, everything we believed, She nodded.
Yes.
It was all created.
The forests.
The rivers. The sky that pretended to be gentle. Even the place we call home. A tremor shook the dome. The screen flickered. Outside, the shimmering grew stronger. Trees bent in impossible angles, their shapes flickering as if struggling to hold together. We stepped out of the dome because Lyra said we had to face it with our own eyes, and once we were outside, we understood how deep the lie ran. The ground felt softer, almost like breathing sand. The air shimmered in patches, revealing brief glimpses of the planet's true surface, dark, metallic, and lifeless. The sky was not blue or red. It was a gray void with glitching pulses of light that looked like a machine trying to pretend to be a sun. Children ran from their homes crying. Adults stared in silence, unable to process what they were seeing. Structures flickered between real and unreal, their outlines dissolving into static. A man shouted, "Lyra, what did you do?" Another cried, "Why is the world breaking apart?" Lyra stepped forward, raising her hands. "Listen to me. All of you. Please." But panic was spreading faster than her words. Suddenly, the ground cracked open. Wide, bright, glowing with a strange blue light. The crack stretched through the center of the settlement, cutting through the main path like a knife. A sharp gust swept over us, carrying a sound like distant machinery awakening. We stumbled back as the crack widened. The projected soil peeled away, revealing smooth metallic plates underneath, engraved with symbols none of us could read. Alan whispered, This is technology, not nature." Lyra finally spoke the truth she had been carrying for so long.
Yes. This planet is not what we believed. It is not natural. It was built long before we arrived. It is a construct, a machine, a world created by someone or something else. People gasped. Others backed away. Some fell to their knees in confusion. I stared at Lyra, anger rising in my voice. "And you knew all along." She didn't deny it. "Yes. I knew. I was told to protect the lie. To keep everyone safe." I stepped closer. Safe from what? She looked up at the glitching sky, then back at us. Safe from the truth. The truth that this world is not ours, and that we were never meant to wake it. The ground rumbled again. A towering pillar of metal slowly rose from the crack, covered in glowing lines. It hummed with an ancient, awakening power. Alan grabbed my arm. "We need to run." But Lyra shook her head. "No. We can't run anymore. The lie is broken. The world is waking up, and it remembers everything." The metallic pillar emitted a deep, resonant tone, like a greeting or a warning. The sky pulsed in response, sending waves of light across the clouds. The world no longer pretended to be peaceful or gentle. It was showing its real nature now. Behind me, whispers grew. What are we standing on? Who built this place? What happens to us now? The truth had finally escaped the walls we built around it, and nothing would ever be the same again. Under the alien sun, that wasn't a sun at all, our home, the home built on lies, was waking up. And it wanted answers. The pillar kept rising, taller and taller, until it towered above the entire settlement. Light pulsed through it, traveling down into the cracks and across the ground like living veins. The shimmering sky grew brighter, flickering between the false projection and the gray void underneath. Everyone stood frozen. Children clung to their parents. Workers stumbled out of buildings that flickered between real and illusion. People who had lived their whole lives believing in this place now struggled to understand what they were seeing. The world we thought was natural was now revealing its true form, cold, ancient, mechanical. Alan took my hand. Her voice shook. "If this world is waking up, what does it want?" Before I could answer, the ground vibrated with a low hum. The sky flashed. And then a voice, deep, layered, neither human nor machine, spoke through the air. It didn't use our language, but somehow we understood it. Identity, unknown occupants. Purpose, unauthorized settlement. Status, world shell reboot in progress. People screamed.
Others backed away. Some fell to the ground, covering their ears even though the voice was not loud. It was everywhere at once. The pillar pulsed again. Query: why are you here? The settlement fell silent. No one knew what to say. No one knew who or what to answer. Then Lyra stepped forward, trembling but determined. I will speak. A few people shouted at her. You lied to us. You kept this secret. You betrayed us. But she ignored them and faced the pillar, lifting her chin. We came here to live, she said clearly. We came because we had no home left. Our world was dying. The pillar responded instantly, almost impatiently. This world is not designed for humans. Habitation outside permitted cycles is forbidden. Alan squeezed my hand. Permitted cycles? What does that mean? Lyra's eyes widened. It means we arrived during a dormant phase. This world was asleep. And now, she looked at the pillar, fearful. Now it's waking into a cycle we were never meant to survive. The ground around us folded open like metal petals, revealing vast machinery turning beneath the soil. The air grew warm. The sky brightened with pulsing lines, forming patterns like circuitry. People started to panic. We have to evacuate. Where do we go? There's no ship left. But the world continued speaking. Inquiry: do you claim ownership of this installation? Lyra shook her head quickly.
No.
We don't. We claim nothing. We only want to live. The pillar paused as if thinking. The lights dimmed. Alan whispered, Is it deciding whether to destroy us? I couldn't answer. No one could. Then the light surged again. Historical records searched. Species human. Status: once compliant travelers, now lost. The voice softened, but it still carried the weight of ages. You built a home on a lie. But you are not the first. We all stared in confusion. Not the first? Others had come before us? The pillar projected images into the air, holograms of beings we had never seen before. Tall, luminous figures. Small, insect-like creatures. Winged species that looked like walking stars. All of them living on this world in different eras. And all of them leaving too soon. Lyra stepped closer. What happened to them? The voice answered. The world cycles between states. Creation, destruction, restoration. Only those who know the truth can survive the shift. A cold fear gripped me. And we don't know how to survive it. No, Lyra said darkly. We don't. The pillar's lights dimmed again, and for a moment everything seemed to stop. Then the voice spoke with surprising softness. You may stay. But not as you were. The ground began to shift. Buildings stabilized, losing their shimmering illusions and becoming solid metal structures shaped by the planet itself. The sky cleared of projections, revealing a vast gray dome glowing with embedded lines and symbols. The air changed temperature, becoming crisp, cool, and breathable. It was as if the world was rebuilding itself around us, reshaping reality to match the truth. I took her hand and faced the glowing horizon. We rebuild, not on lies, but on what this world truly is. Lyra approached, finally unburdened. And maybe, she whispered, this time the world will accept us as its own. We stood together, watching the first true dawn rise over the mechanical landscape, a dawn no human had ever seen before. Under the alien sun that was not a sun, on the alien land that was not land, we finally began to build a home that did not need to lie.